You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Mission Log Engage on the Roddenberry Entertainment channel here on YouTube. If it is your first time engaging with us, thank you for being with us. If it is your umpteenth time and you have been waiting for us to return, thank you for being with us as well. I'm Norman Lau.
And I'm John Champion. Yeah, and if you're new and you're just binging all of these and you're not aware that we took several weeks off, hi. But if you have been waiting for us, then here we are, and just working out schedule and collecting all of your very fine and thoughtful notes so we can respond and engage with your ideas here in this format. So, Norman, without further preamble, why don't you just get right into the first email.
All right, I like your style, John.
Okay.
Both feet. Diving in with both feet. Here we go.
All right, here we go. This is from John, distinctive from me because there's no H in his name. So totally different John. Okay. So there's an email from John, and he said, in yesteryear, when Spock visits his family in the guise of a relative, he tells Sarek that he has come to honor our gods. This notion of Vulcan gods is interesting and has never been brought up in your discussions of religion versus the rational. As far as I've yet heard, I'm still a season behind. Might be worth considering as Trek deals with a religion of the future. Were I to jump the timeline, I might argue that Enterprise paints logic itself as a religion, as a religious god to Vulcans. But that can wait another 10 years. I don't think it'll be 10 years before we get to Enterprise, but it's a few
maybe
years
cut that
down
in
the
half.
road. Yeah. So we're in season 2 of Voyager now, so probably another 3 years for that. Plus, we'll see.
All right.
Great question and great thought there behind that. What's your take, Norm?
With the Vulcans, it's really kind of still shrouded in mystery as to, what their culture is and isn't. Because when you think about it, Vulcans, from what we know, the process of Kalinar may or may not apply to every single Vulcan. That, I think, is a matter of choice. And to either purge yourself from all emotions and follow the true stoic path of logic or not. But it's like, where does religion fall in line with the Vulcans in the same way that where do children fall in line with the Vulcans? Don't you derive joy and pride and love and etc., all of these human emotions when you have children, or don't you? Or is it something that you just don't act on in public, but you act on in private? Is that the same thing with religion? Do they act on it in private, but not in public?
Interesting. Well, that's certainly a good way to look at it. And I think, part of our problem is like, no matter what, we're going to humanize, we're going to apply our human ideas toward what an alien culture would be. And we only do
human.
I know, right. And we only do get pieces of it. I think what we can kind of piece together is that Vulcans have a long cultural history. And in fact, I think you mentioned Kolinar. I think about that scene of Spock there in the kind of desert-ish, mountainous landscape.
Yes.
And he had those statues behind him, these huge statues. But what are they doing? Like, they're holding Lirpa. They're ready for action. They're fighting, And Vulcans do refer to their very difficult and tumultuous past where they nearly destroyed their entire culture. And you have to wonder, like, what changes in the philosophy occurred over time? What was maybe what we would see as a religious belief, as something that a god or gods would be a part of, versus what is a secular belief, again, from our point of view, just sort of following a path of logic. And they may even in a certain case be using those things interchangeably, where the gods might simply be the stories that they use, couched in metaphor, mythologic ideas in order to get across the point of Vulcan logic or get across the tenet that they want to share. So I don't really know, I don't think we can point to a specific thing, and it will be interesting when we get to Enterprise. And of course, I'm just going to jump the timeline right away. You get to that Vulcan trilogy in season 4, and I think that's one of the most heartfelt looks at what changed in the Vulcan psyche to get us to the Vulcans that we know. But does that leave room for Vulcan gods in the way that we think of gods? I don't know, and I don't really think that there's anything in a writer's Bible or elsewhere to point to with that.
The issue I think here, and it's really hard to kind of divorce the idea that has been pretty much the party line since 1966 with Vulcans and logic, is that logic means non-emotion. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily mean that specifically. It's just that the way that Leonard portrayed Spock, it's either you're emotional, and there is something wrong with Spock, i.e., like the naked time, when he's talking about his mother because he's affected by the polywater intoxication molecule. Or he goes all the way to the path, like right up until he gets, he gets awarded like the Medal of the Kolinahr or the Amulet of the Kolinahr in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Once you do that, what is that are you obtaining the highest level of that religious order? Is Kolinahr their religion?
Could be. But I mean, then we get really into the weeds about the definition of religions versus sort of like socially accepted or traditional beliefs. A religion would imply like there's a something holy or supernatural about it, and that seems to go against what for the most part, what we've been exposed to as Vulcan logic. Right. So I don't think that these things are totally incompatible necessarily, but certainly there's very little emphasis, I should say, on like Vulcan gods, other than what John here is pointing out in the email, which is this one kind of potentially throwaway line. Oh, but wait, it actually could be pretty significant in the animated series. So,
and to honor our gods. Is it our gods and the Vulcan gods, or our gods, the House of Sarek, because he's married to Amanda, who still may have human gods?
Oh, interesting. Oh, man, see, that's a whole other topic for another day. So, indeed. John, thank you for throwing something that we could kick around and still not come up with really solid answers on. I appreciate it. Let us know what you think. You can get in touch with us. Send us your comments, missionlog@roddenberry.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter @missionlogpod. Remember to subscribe to this very playlist, Mission Log Engage, at youtube.com/roddenberryprod. And remember, we may engage with your comments on the air.